Just a word. If you've gone to our parish website looking for the Going Deeper program, if you went for the very first session that Paul Danielson did 2 weeks ago, it's there. The one for this past week is already. I've tried to post it, and I messed it up. So it's going to take me a day since I'm the resident sort of kind of techie, I'm the one who has to try and get it figured out. So Monday I've got someone coming in to give me a hand to get it straightened out. So be patient with me, I'm still learning. But you know, in our gospel passage today, we're presented with a parable that we've all heard many, many times. The parable of Lazarus and the rich man. Dives or Dives, however you want to pronounce it. Literally it means rich man. And we all know it's kind of one of those parables, those ancient parables that, you know, good people in this life get rewarded in the next. Bad people in this life get punished in the next. We all know that, yada, 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 it all goes along. But there's a twist at the end of it. And it's St. John Chrysostom, the Bishop of Constantinople in the early part of the 5th century, in one of his homilies makes a point. He says there are two things that are unique about the way that Luke has told this parable. The first is that it's Abraham who receives Lazarus. When the rich man who is in hell looks up and sees Lazarus, he's with Abraham. Why Abraham? Why is Abraham even in the story? Because Abraham is the icon of hospitality. If you remember back to Genesis, Abraham gets up and races out into the sunlight, races out into the heat of the desert to welcome the strangers that are passing by. Abraham is the person, the sign, the symbol of the Jewish command for hospitality. And every day, you know, the rich man walked by Lazarus, who sat at his front door, starving, who walked by him and saw the dogs licking him and ignored him. This is not the sin of suffering or injustice, it's the sin of apathy, to simply not care. The other thing that John Chrysostom points out is that he looks at Father Abraham tells him that he will not send somebody back to convince his brothers. Because Abraham says they have Moses and the prophets. If they will not listen to them, they will not listen to anyone, even if one should rise from the dead. Yes, it prefigures Jesus' own resurrection. But it's an issue that very often, when big things happen, we kind of get slapped in the face. And all of a sudden it has our attention. Somebody rose from the dead. Are you kidding me? And yet we ignore the miracles that are happening in our life every single day. We are apathetic toward them. Toward the hospitality that Abraham is an icon of. Toward the scriptures that we hear week after week. We come here to the Eucharist. We hear the Word of God proclaimed. We hear the constant reminder, remember the poor. Financial poor, spiritual poor, emotional poor, physically poor. All of those people who are in one way or another in need. And we've all got them in our families, in our town. We may even be among them. Remember the poor. We hear it time and time again. But sometimes it washes over us. And in our apathy, we choose or we feel we can't respond. Or maybe we are even among those who feel that we shouldn't respond. I got mine, let them get theirs. And Abraham says there is a giant chasm fixed between us. It's fixed by our own apathy. John Chrysostom goes on to point out that you and I are surrounded each day by people who are living the gospel, living the scriptures. We are surrounded by those people every single day. whether we come to Eucharist every day, whether we come weekly, whether we meet people in our homes or our workplaces, they are all living the gospel. And they are looking to us to do the same. Are we? Because the chasm that we fix is fixed by us. It is built by us. The chasm that we build between us and other people in order to protect ourselves. It's a tough gospel to hear, because we frequently don't want to hear it. And yet Amos in the first reading gives us an examination of conscience. We've heard gospels from Amos, or readings from Amos, in the past couple of weeks, where he talks about social sin and social ills and social injustice. But today he talks about personal sin. The personal sin of greed. The personal sin of refusing to care about others. The personal sin of being unwilling to share our lives with others. And then Jesus comes back with the parables in today's gospel. It's very easy to get burnt out in all the many ways in which we're asked to help. But did you ever stop to think, what would it take to genuinely help everyone? It would take all of us, one way or another, to commit our lives to making a difference. And yet, maybe we won't have as much as we have, but we'll all have enough. That's assured. One way or another, we will all be able to stand before God and know that we genuinely cared about each other, that we genuinely made a difference, that we heard the words of Moses and the prophets as they were lived out for us in the hospitality that surrounds us every day. And we responded, so that one day we too will be carried to the bosom of Abraham, and we too will enjoy the hospitality of the living God.